Magandang araw, ako si Kuya Code. Welcome back to my channel where I teach Python through fun and practical examples. Today we'll be continuing our dive into software design patterns. This time we're going to talk about a pattern called factory method. A factory method is a creational design pattern that provides an interface for creating objects and a superclass, but allows the subclasses to alter the types of objects that we'll create. But this code that I have here doesn't actually use the factory method yet. But what we do have here is a parent, which is an enemy class, and then we have the subclasses, which is the children for a goblin, an orc, and a dragon. And then basically you can select which one you want to generate from the menu, and it'll generate one. It's, for example, if you select goblin, you'll type in 1 because goblin is number 1, and then it'll use that 1 as an index in our enemies list to spawn an enemy, and then it's going to type or pass the goblin into this method here, and then it's going to return the goblin class, and then it's going to call the attack method on the goblin to print out the information here. So like if I type in 1 for the goblin, it does some information based off of the goblin, doing 5 damage. But if I type in 3 for the dragon, it's going to give us the information about the dragon. The problem is, though, is that this is not good code, because if we were to go ahead and add a new type here, like for example, an ogre, where is my ogre? There it is. So we'll make a new ogre. And now we have to change this. So if I copy and paste this like that, then we need to type in ogre. We'll spawn an ogre. And then this will be like this. And then we'll have to do that. Make a new thing here. 4 and 3, and now when we run this, we can type in 4, and now we have the ogre information. And generally, doing this inside the main is fine because it's kind of like the client, whereas editing this information inside of here is bad, because one of the principles that I'll be going into more detail in a future video is the open-close principle, where our code could be open to extension by, let's say, adding a new class, but closed for modification, like editing this method here. So what we're going to be doing instead is deleting this, and I'll just delete all this stuff because I don't really need it right now. And then we're going to go up here, make a new abstract class for our enemy factory. It's from ABC because it's abstract. I'm going to make an abstract method, which is called create enemy. We can just put pass because it's abstract. And now we can just make some implementations of the enemy factory we just made for specific types. We're going to have one for each type. So we're going to have we got one for goblin, one for orc, one for dragon, and then we could also get one for the ogre as well that we just created. Well, actually, I'll keep the ogre out just to kind of show how we would add it in later on after the whole thing is set up. So we have that, and this is all the same. I'll just keep this here for now, or I'll just comment this out. And now what we need to do is just edit our main. And instead of just asking you to select a number to generate 1, we'll just have it in a loop that'll be able to generate multiple. But first we need to get our factories set up. So we got our factories here, which is just a list of factories. And of course, because this is a list, you can just have a new, like this can basically just be created by reading a file, for example, and you can add stuff into the list at runtime. That's why I said adding stuff or making changes in here is fine to do in runtime, whereas if you have a method, you can't really change this at runtime. So that's why, like I said, this is fine to have stuff changed, but this is not, because this can be done easily. So we have our list of factories here. We got the goblin, we got the orc, we got the dragon, and now we'll have a loop. So for underscore in range 10, we're going to spawn 10 enemies here. And then we can pick a random enemy, or a random factory. So chosen factory equals random.choice out of our list here. Make sure I have random imported, there we go. So this is just going to choose a random factor between the 3 that we have in this list. And then enemy equals chosen factory dot create enemy. So because all of our factories come from our abstract class here, they're all going to have the same name for the method, which will return their respective classes for the enemies. So this is going to generate an enemy regardless of which enemy is picked. And then we can just simply print so do a wild enemy.name has spawned, and then simply print out enemy.attack. So this is all generic. So as I mentioned in the very beginning of the video, the subclasses will alter the type of object that will be created, but it doesn't know anything about which type it is. It's all generic, so this works on every single type of enemy that we have. So if we go ahead and do this, look, we have our 10 enemies. We got goblin, dragon, orc, dragon, goblin, orc, etc. So now we have our 10 enemies that spawned. But then here's the good thing. Now that this is done and everything works, all we're going to do is add in a separate file. And again, this is extending the code that we have. It's not modifying anything, at least in terms of our classes. And then we could just add in an ogre factory, which is there. And then at runtime, we can just simply add ogre factory. Not gactory, factory. So if we go ahead and run this, I put an extra one here. Now, as we can see, it still works with the ogre. So that's definitely a lot better. We literally add this. This gets added in here, but it doesn't affect any of our other classes. So this is definitely the benefit of an abstract factory, or just a factory method. The abstract factory is actually slightly different. It's kind of like an addition on top of this that we'll do in a future video. But let's just say you're making a game and you have some type of system that spawns random enemies, and you get points depending on how many enemies you kill, and you can choose how many enemies you want to spawn each round. So maybe you'll do like 11 and then 12 and then 13, and then it keeps on going until you die or whatever. So that's kind of an idea where this would actually be used. So that's it for this video. Please like and subscribe if you found the video helpful. Don't forget to click on the notification bell for future videos. That way you can get notifications. And yeah, go ahead and leave a comment down below if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos. See you next time on Code. Paalam.